This is the Heroic Voice, where I talk to comic book creators, people I've worked with, other interesting people, about the history of comics, superheroes, and the current state of the comic book industry. I also discuss current and upcoming projects, current events, and any other topics my guests might be interested in talking about. So subscribe and hit the like button. Help me grow this channel and promote indie comic book creators, publishers, and other people affiliated with the comic book industry. Your comments are appreciated. Get to it and leave feedback, good, bad, and otherwise. I am your host, Dennis Mallonee, writer, publisher of the Heroic Multiverse, where we spotlight good girls, bad girls, super babes, and superheroics in a classic, kind of golden agey style. Grab some snacks and enjoy. This is the Heroic Voice. Hi, welcome to the Heroic Voice. I'm Dennis Mallonee, the publisher at Heroic Publishing. I'm here with Jeff Tompkins, artist extraordinaire, I would say. He's done some work with us in the past. He's doing some work these days. And it is October 19th. And Jeff, I will ask the same question that I asked to pretty much every artist that I talk to. How did you get into comics? What prompted you to start drawing? How did you get your first job? You know, the whole shebang.
The whole shebang. Well, let's go back to must have been about 5, maybe 4 years old, and I was introduced to Peanuts. And I really loved Charlie Brown and Snoopy, and I started drawing the heck out of them every chance I could get. My parents kind of recognized that, and they bought me a sketchbook, and they encouraged things. And I always drew, and I eventually went into Archie and Richie Rich, and it really wasn't until maybe about 6th grade for me that I started seeing superheroes that I liked. Now, before, superheroes to me were kind of very talky. There was a lot of words. I didn't want to read all those words. I just wanted to see the funny and draw Snoopy, that sort of thing. But I picked up a copy of Spider-Man that was drawn by John Byrne, and that artwork appealed to me. So from there, it was all systems go. And I was about 6th grade. So, it takes a while to kind of work into what you like. And a lot of people like John Byrne back then, I know, and drew just like him. Took a while to find my own style, but um, eventually, after I graduated high school, I went into working at Mallonee Comics. And I worked with Mallonee Comics for about 12 years, and that really opened up a lot of opportunities for me. Met a lot of interesting people, made a lot of connections. Um, Gave me time when I worked in the retail store to just kind of pretend I was working and just draw. I think I drew a couple of your issues while I was supposed to be working.
Uh,
Sorry, Chuck, if he's watching this.
were you working at the mega store out there or one of
I
these?
did. I opened both. I opened 2 stores. One of them being the first mega store that was in Colorado. That was before the Anaheim one. Um, and I worked that one for a good 5 years. And Mallonee Comics came and went. Finally, at about 1997, was out of that. During that time, though, I'd been doing lots of submissions, and you were the first one to discover, I guess you could say, and give me a chance. So I've always appreciated that about you.
Well, you're quite welcome.
Yeah. So I mean, that allowed me to do a lot of nice work and develop, what it's like to work under a deadline, and just kind of work through some rough edges and get the rust off and find my own voice. So that was great. Um, After 97, when I left Mallonee Comics, I started working as a inking assistant for an image artist. Chuck Gibson was the inker. Good friend of mine in Colorado here, so I knew him long before he got the call to go work for Image. And when he started working there, then and came back to Colorado, then he had me do some inking assistant, and I really learned a lot about inking at that point. Um, I guess one of the things I really learned about it is it requires you to stay up till about 3 a.m. at night, or at least that was with him. And you end up getting used to a lot of things like that, the deadline and just filling in blacks, lining ink line or just ruling lines, doing some of the tedious, monotonous stuff. Um, but it's all good. It's all training. It was sort of like an internship, and I learned quite a bit about inking. And he even got to do a couple pages of Captain America. So I got to work on a couple of pages of Captain America with him, which was a lifelong dream of mine. That's my favorite Marvel character.
I see
Um,
Captain America covers behind you.
yeah, that's just one of many. I mean,
There's a Kirby cover, there's a Steranko cover.
yeah, up higher, got some other ones. We got John Romita in there. We've got Bob Layton. Yeah, those
Yeah.
are. If I had more walls, I would have more art on them. I mean, these walls are just full. There's no room left. So you can see where my passion's at. I really love some of these older artists. You know what's funny? When I was trying to break into the business and I was reading comics pretty heavily in the 80s, I didn't like I didn't like Kirby so much. I didn't like Gil Kane so much. I think because at that time they weren't at their peak anymore.
No, they weren't. They were not.
Right. And so, as I got older and I start seeing a lot of the older Kirby and Gil Kane, I seeded up. I can't get enough of it now. And it's just funny that I didn't appreciate it at the time when I was growing as an artist.
Gill's work, when he was inking himself, I don't think really was as good as when he was inked by Joe Giella.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. The same thing was true with Carmine Infantino. When
Yeah.
Infantino inked his own stuff, it just didn't look as stylish, as classy as it did when he was inked by Joe Giella. He added something to their work. And that was true of Kirby as well. When Kirby had a really good inker, right, the work was just phenomenal because
Hmm.
Kane and Kirby and all of those other artists had that storytelling technique that just needed a little polish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the Gil Kane stuff that I didn't really like so much, he was working on Micronauts at the time and he was inking himself, but it looked like he was inking it with a felt tip pen.
Mm.
So he took a lot of his style out of there, a lot of the things that were really nice about his work, and he didn't take the time. Almost maybe he was rushing it. I don't know.
Don't know. We can't ask him anymore either.
No, that's true. I did get to meet him. He A lot of the people that we had through Molly Comics through signings, the biggest one we ever had that was really nice was this Superman signing, and it was 1994, I think. It had Kurt Swan, had Gil Kane, it had all the people that were working on the books currently, Bogdanov and Grummett wasn't there. I think Jurgens might have been there. I can't remember the rest because it was so overshadowed by the fact that Gil Kane and Kurt Swan were there.
Yeah.
Um, but you could tell at that point he was happy to be there. He was happy to be honored as part of the Superman crew and people that had helped make DC Comics kind of what it is. Um, but I don't think he was so excited about the crowd and
Uh,
but it was kind of nice to see him.
did he call you dear boy?
No,
That
I
was sort
don't
of
think
that
so.
was Gil's tagline. Whenever he met somebody that he knew and he couldn't remember the name, he would always, just say, good to see you, dear boy.
Well, I was working, so yeah, I was probably just boy.
Yeah. So, oh, I miss those guys. They were great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really
So,
appreciate him now.
yeah. And, people should go back and look at the work they did when they were at their peak. For both Jack and Gil, that was the 60s, right? The mid to late 60s. They were at their best.
Hmm.
Just phenomenal work. Um, so
Lots of those guys. I think there's some sort of path that most artists go through as they get older, then they start getting a little tired and maybe
start mailing them in.
disillusioned about it.
That was true of Carl Barks as well, right?
Yeah.
Carl Barks on the Ducks tales would like erase and redraw. But then it got to the point that he just didn't want to do that anymore. It was too much work. So the later Barks material doesn't have that same kind of polish and finesse that when he was in his prime, which was in the 50s, right?
Yeah.
And into the early 60s. Um, But let's talk about you, right? I don't actually remember what the first work you did for us. Was it one of those Flair stories?
It was Flair First Edition 11, I believe. It was Fala Part 1.
Oh, yeah.
Um, did do Fala Part 2, which I have just in penciled form. It's been sitting on my desk since 92,
Oh, that's a
93.
while ago.
Yeah, well, you had sent other work to me that did get printed. It was there was a Tigress versus Flair story, and there was some stories with the champions
Hmm.
a little bit. Got to do some covers here and there. Um, and I think even as recently as maybe 20 or 25 years ago, there was a Flair story, but it was an early adventure. And that one just got penciled or
Oh,
half penciled, never finished.
do you still have that around somewhere?
I do. I actually brought a lot of it with me, just because you probably haven't seen it. It's been forever, but like there's the splash page for Fall Apart 2.
I have those pencils. You sent me those. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're all penciled and even lettered, and I even have a note from you on the back of it. They're from like 92, 93
Hmm. I think those were intended for Flair Adventures rather than Flair First Edition.
adventures. Okay.
But it's it's too hard to keep
Uh,
straight.
Actually, I wrote on the bottom, Flair First Edition number 12 is what this one
That
would have
was what you
been.
originally intended for. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. But we stopped publishing that after issue 11, and we're going to shift them over to Flair Adventures. So we should finish that.
Yeah.
Uh,
So now there's, yeah. So, I mean, talk about building up a cliffhanger, right?
yeah.
Everybody's wondering what happened. Um,
Well,
well,
certainly Flair fans
yeah.
might be wondering.
And let's see if I've got any other stuff. So there's this one, like I said, from about 25 years ago. Um, it kind of, I've got quite a bit of it penciled. It is an older Flair story, so she's wearing her older costume.
Yeah, with is that Giant that she's with?
No, it is somebody that I think is supposed to be manipulating her into, I think if I remember right, he's German, if that helps.
Eric Shadle, maybe.
Maybe. I
Not
have a script around here somewhere.
okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
Things
Although,
apparently went well
uh-huh.
between the two of them.
Yeah. Is that could be when she first arrived here in the US on the mission to infiltrate and destroy the League of Champions. I
Yes,
think
that could
that
be. It
I
ends
think
with,
that guy is what was his name? Max Kruger?
that sounds right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean, it ends basically with him standing over a table. Of course, I didn't get finished that, but a table with all these pictures of the champions and probably talking to her to say, this is who I want you to go get.
yeah. She ended up going after Gargoyle because Gargoyle was a monster, right?
Uh,
And so this was the story that we've never told. We sort of saw it in flashback in an issue of Flair, but we didn't go into any detail with it. So yeah, we should definitely get that story done and out there.
so,
Um,
like I said, I've got the script of it somewhere. I can certainly, I'd love to pick that stuff back up. Um,
I'd love to have you do it.
Artwork right now for me is kind of a hobby, but I'm finding that with the kids all grown up and everything, I actually have more time for a hobby. So,
What else are you working on these days?
these days, well, my day job is a software implementer, and I've been working that for a good 25 to 30 years now. Um, and it kind of coincides with the last time I had any real deadlines imposed on me with comic book artwork, because at some point the kids and the whole family, I had to go make some money. I had to leave the comic book career pursuit behind, um, and make some money. So now everybody's grown up, and now it's Jeff time. Now it's me time.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's time to get back into that. But any more, I just do little spot illustrations here and there. I've got one I show you. This is Ghost Rider.
Ah, nice work. Yeah.
Now, my wife is a children's book author, illustrator. So I spent a lot of time, working, I guess, being available for her. So she colored this one.
Well, let's plug
Just
your wife. Where can people find her stuff?
You can find it on Instagram. She's got some children's books. One that's out now. It came out last summer. Sometimes a Tiger. That's her first children's book. This is through Macmillan. She's got
Macmillan. That name keeps
Macmillan.
coming up. Macmillan is the largest producer of comic book material
Hmm?
in the world, well, in the US these days. And they focus on the children's market, which,
Yeah.
the regular mainstream comic book publishers basically ignore. Uh,
Hmm.
and there's, it, and I don't get it. I mean, children will always be a market for the bright and colorful, entertaining stories.
Character driven. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you, social media for you, where can people follow you and find out what you're up to?
Well, it's hers is first of all is ZB Astroplum. It is a nom de plume. ZB Astroplum. And mine is under Tompkins Art. Tompkinsart.
This is
And that's on
Instagram.
Instagram. Yep.
Okay.
I don't do any other social media besides that. I find that all my friends who are on social media have said something politically incorrect and have lost all their friends. So I don't go onto social media.
Oh, yeah. I know
I
how
don't
that
care to be a
goes.
part of it.
Yeah. No need to if you don't need to. So,
Yeah, exactly. So I've got lots of friends still.
yeah.
Um, I did this one as well as a drawing for my sister's fundraiser. She has a fundraiser where she gives out motorcycles to veterans. And
Lobo.
I thought this would appeal to that crowd. And they auctioned it off. They made some money for them. So that was kind of nice. And it got me to sit down and do some drawing and some inking. I really like
Excellent.
the inking these days. And lastly, the one thing I had prepared was Doc Samson. I did
Ah,
that one a few years ago.
yeah, yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
someday I'll get my wife to color these too, and then it will really pop.
I've always wanted to do a Doc Samson joke, like where he's like in the airport and suddenly he feels himself getting weak because Samsonite. Oh, my gosh.
Well, he couldn't take on the ape that likes to throw the Samsonite around.
Yeah,
There you go. There's the battle.
there's the battle.
Write it up.
Do you have any heart's desire kind of thing, characters you would love to do other than Captain America?
Oh yeah, absolutely. DC, my favorite character is Green Lantern. Um, Mainly because of all the different constructs that he can create with his ring. Now, I do have to admit I'm about 12 years behind in all my comic book reading. I still get monthly subscriptions, but I have been behind. So I don't know what Green Lantern's doing these days, if he still puts together constructs or whatever. But at least the Green Lantern I know from the 70s and the 80s did some pretty cool stuff with them.
Oh yeah, yeah, I love it.
So that would appeal to me.
Yeah, my first encounter with Hal was in Justice League of America #1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. I said, oh, okay. I know the Flash. Who's this Green Lantern guy? Oh, anyway,
Do you still have it?
no, good God, no, no. Long
Do you
time
have
ago.
a stack of comics that you keep around?
Nope, sold them all off a long time ago. I decided to go cold turkey on,
Uh,
they were getting so expensive and
yep.
prices going up, so many different books, and I just said, no, I can't afford it anymore. So get rid of the temptation. Yeah, sold them all to Chuck Rozanski at Mile High.
Oh, yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah, I got to get an interview with him. He's in LA this weekend, as I understand it.
Actually, I saw an email saying he was heading to Wisconsin or something,
Oh yeah,
but he is always going out there to LA. I think every couple of weeks he's out there to buy some toys for the store.
yeah. Gotta
So
get him on for one of these heroic voice interviews.
I
Chuck,
think you
you see
should.
this? Yeah, yeah. I'll be in touch.
There you go.
Yeah, it was at a San Diego con. I just sat down with Chuck, when we started talking, and I said, "Hey, Chuck, you want to buy my complete set of Marvel comics?" He said, "Yeah, okay," because at the
Okay.
time I had everything. I had all the superhero books, every single one of them.
Wow. Wow.
And I got a pretty good chunk of change for them. They'd be worth a hell of a lot more now, but at the time, Chuck gave me a good price.
Yeah, well, inflation would bring them up to something now for sure. I'm going to have to go through that myself one of these days, because I don't think my kids are going to want to deal with them, in the future.
Hmm.
So it'd be better for me to just try to sell some of them now. Of course, I have a bunch of the stuff from the 90s, which probably nobody wants, but I do have some earlier stuff. Nothing like a Justice League #1. That's pretty special. Um, That'll be a good retirement thing for me, I think, to sit around and just kind of tool around with eBay and try to sell some of those.
It's a good plan.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I guess, is there any other topic you'd like to cover? I think we pretty well covered it. We're going to get those flare stories done at some
Okay.
point. Whenever you have an opening in your schedule, just let me know, or whenever you'd like to do it. We did get one of them inked, as I remember. You had a friend ink one of them that we did.
Well, yeah, actually, a couple of years ago, I finished inking. It was over Daniel Lauer. It was a Lady Arcane story,
Oh, was that? Yeah.
and I did have a friend do the colors on it.
Ah, okay,
Yeah,
that's what it was.
my wife was gonna start doing some of the colors, but she was working on that book that I held up at the time, so it
Uh-huh.
kind of didn't work out for her. But she'd really love to try coloring something like that. So I don't know, maybe
So maybe
we
we could do
revisit
that.
that.
You
Yeah.
finish the inks on it and have her do the colors.
Yeah. I'm sitting here right by my drawing table, so I don't have to go far.
Okay.
I
All
can
right.
do it right after this call.
It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah,
Again,
you as well.
give the Instagram addresses again, both for you and for your wife.
Hers is ZB Aster Plume, and mine is Tompkins Art.
Excellent. All right. And I want to encourage everybody to share this video. If you haven't subscribed to the Heroic Voice YouTube channel, do so. Give us likes. And we'll have Jeff on again at some point down the road, maybe after this is done and we're getting ready to print some of it. Might be a good time to bring you on again.
All right, sounds good.
Alrighty. And the website is heroicmultiverse.com. So again, good to see you. Good to
Thanks,
see you face
Dennis.
to face. And I don't think we've ever met before.
Well, we had you out to Denver once.
Oh, yeah?
That was like 93.
Right. There was a Denver con. We did meet.
Well, no, I had you at my store at the Mallonee Comics Mega Store.
Oh, right. I'd forgotten that. I actually worked because I wanted to. This is something when Chuck opened up his mega store in Anaheim,
Hmm.
I wanted to get some hands-on experience with comic book retailing. So I asked him if he could just like bring me in to work for a week or two in there. And he did that, which was really cool. So it didn't last very long, but I learned a little bit.
You probably got the gist of it in a week.
Yeah. All righty. All right. Good to see you. We'll cut this
Yep.
off
All
and
right.
we'll do it again.
Thanks, Dennis. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.